Okay, welcome to another episode of the Immigrant Education Podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. I have Cole Lynn. Cole, how are you?
I'm doing good.
You doing well? Thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview with me. I want to have a conversation with you about where you are right now, but I
Mm,
want you to kind of tell us about like how you got to where you are. And
Okay.
'cause I think you have a fascinating story. So tell me about growing up in Taiwan and like going to school in Taiwan. What was that like?
So, um, I most of my school experience from elementary school to high school, even to universities, all public school systems.
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean like, you can just keep going to the next level of the school. It's like there is some requirement come to entrance exams.
Hmm.
So, so like for the elementary school, I just went to the elementary school in the neighborhood,
Hmm.
and it was a really big school. Like one one class has 39 people,
Hmm.
and then there is like I think it's like 16 or 17 class in one grade, and
Hmm.
then sixth grade, and then it all has this amount of child. Like it is a really big school.
Okay. So in that
And
cla in that class, really quickly, if it's 39 students in the class, how many teachers do you have?
so the teachers, there's one man homeroom teacher. I
Hmm.
think
Yep.
that's how it calls.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just one, but
Just
there will be other subjects that teacher might rotate it, just come into
gotcha.
the classroom and teach certain subject that the homeroom teacher couldn't teach. So
Hmm.
it would be like that. Mhm.
So you just mentioned that there are entrance exams. So when is the first entrance exam? Is the first one going from like middle school to high school, or is there an entrance exam from like elementary school to middle school?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it really depends on what you're looking for
Hmm.
because for me, I went to my middle school, there's no entrance exam.
Hmm.
But if you want to have a better education, then you need to take exam if you want to go to private middle schools. So that will be the extra effort, like some
Hmm.
people put in, but I didn't. So I just joined the middle school that is also in the same neighborhood.
Hmm.
And yes, start from that. I start to think about like, oh, what is for the high school?
Hmm.
And the high school, it require uh kind of general entrance exam. So it's compared to middle school, it's more like selective. If you want to do it, then you do it just because you want to go to that private school.
Hmm.
But then the high school just become everyone need to do it. So started with high school, you there is already a hierarchy of like, oh, this school is better, that school is like middle, this school is at the bottom of the hierarchy.
Hmm.
So it's it could become a little bit competitive in
Yeah.
some ways, and I I think I want to t kind of share a little bit of my experience of joining the high school. It's more like at that time, like there is so many different type of high school.
Hmm.
So there is like regular one, which is you don't learn any specific skills. So you just learn like the subjects like math, language, science or physics,
Hmm.
or so it's more like general, you learn all the knowledge, but there's not specific skills
Hmm.
like skill sets, such as like there's different type of high school. You can learn how to like what is such as let me think about welding. Yeah, you
Hmm.
can learn welding or
Hmm.
craft skills or 3D printing, like that is
Hmm.
skill setting style high
Hmm.
school.
Okay. So you can
Yeah.
choose, you can make that decision from middle school to high school. Like if you know that you want to become a welder, you can just choose a high school where you can learn the skill and then just go to work as a welder after high school.
Yes, that's
Okay.
more like how the education systems designed to
Hmm.
be like that. Just because some people is not a fan of study,
Right,
because
right.
if you choose the general high school, you need to just sit and then study a lot, and
Yeah,
then exam as well,
yeah.
and which could be a little bit stressful and boring if you are
Hmm.
not the type of like sit still person.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah. Hmm.
So what was that like for you? So as you're going through school, right? You're in middle school, you're going into high school. What was your routine? Were you someone who was thinking, okay, I'm going to university after this, so I need to study this many hours after school? Did you have a tutor? Like what talk to us about like what a week in your life in Cole's life was like in middle school and high school.
Yeah, but so for the middle school, I have to say, it's a while ago, so my memory could be a little blurry, but it's definitely always started from early morning. Like at least wake up at 6 or 7 is necessary, of course. And then
Hmm.
the school I was started around, I think is 8, and usually start with exam.
Hmm.
Like the morning time, they call that self-study time, but
Hmm.
usually what teacher would do would just put exam at there.
Hmm.
And you start with your morning writing quiz, and then later on there would just be different classes, and then the school usually finish around 4. I think it's 4 to 5-ish.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that will be the more like middle school type of the day.
Hmm.
But when started with high school, so we took the entrance exam to go to high school. And
Hmm.
that was the time. I think I kind of want to highlight on that
Hmm.
part just because that is definitely a turning point of my life that I wasn't sure like how I gonna choose which systems I'm going to be in. So at that time, my mom is more like authoritarian, mix of authoritative
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
It's a combination of that. She
yeah.
just you know, and you only have two options. You're really good at painting. Either
Yeah.
you join art class, like in high school, there's specific type. It's called in the general high school that
Hmm.
don't learn skills, but they don't learn like practical skill, but they have special class for people who have art talent.
Hmm.
So a lot of class will focus on art skill.
Hmm.
That's my mom said you can join that type of art class or you go to study English major in a skill setting high
Hmm.
school. I was like, ah, okay.
Yeah,
That was really difficult for me because it seems like it's in a turning point. Either I give up art or I need to be fully committed
yeah,
to it. Yeah.
absolutely. But think about it. I think that's really a cool thing that your mother recognized that you have this talent and she's
Mhm.
actually presenting you with the option and the choice to say, hey, you have something here and you have my permission to commit to this thing that you have. So talk to us about that a little bit. How did that make you feel? Like, because it sounds like your mom is supporting your talent at that point.
Yeah. To be honest, now think back, I think she did make kind of narrow down the options for me to
Yeah,
make it easier, but also make me realize the urge of if I want something, I need to fight for it.
yeah, yeah,
That's that's kind of planting that mentality because without that, I was just still lost in like what
yeah,
the future should be. It's
yeah,
like I have so many dreams, and when I was little, I was like, oh, I want to be a bakery, like
yeah,
bakers. I want to do this, I want to do that. But that's the moment I started to realize, oh, I got to take things serious.
yeah.
English is a good major just because we in Taiwan people think it's such a good business
Hmm.
skills that you need to have since
Yeah.
majority Taiwanese we don't speak English that well.
Yeah.
So so I think she did make a good decision, come
Hmm.
to narrow down the options and kind of motivate me to be
Yeah.
more commitment because by doing that, I focus more on preparing for the exam to join that type of art
Hmm.
class
Yeah.
that we will be kind of testing on different skill like sketch skills,
Hmm.
watercolor skills, what else? I think Chinese painting skills a little bit.
Hmm.
I wasn't sure because some of my memory mixed with middle
Yeah.
school and high school,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
No, no, no. I think that's good. And so I want to stay here for a second, right? Because I think this is really important and I think this will help a lot because essentially this is one of the conversations that we have frequently
Mm,
about sort of parents recognizing, that the child has this talent
mm,
and can help support to nurture this talent. And I think your mom did a really good job of seeing that early.
Mhm.
and and putting it on the table and saying, hey, this is an option that
Mhm.
and I'm in support of it, because she could have been very different and could have said, no, 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 forget about art, let's become an engineer or something else, right? But she's seeing that you have this talent. So I want to know, where did your love of art come from? Like, were you always drawing? Like, how did you develop this love and this skill for art, like, before high school?
I think since I was little, even before I went to kind of private art studio.
Mm-hmm.
So since I was little, I really liked to doodling a lot, and then I
Mm-hmm.
liked Amy King's art piece. And then once I turned like kindergarten, preschool, my mom just sent me to like children's art class, like
Mm.
owned by private teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and start to like play some clays or do some craft.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the third grade of the elementary school, I shift the level of the art making skills. The teacher put me into like more specific traditional art making curriculums.
This was happening outside of your regular school day, right? This art
Yeah.
school that you're going, this is like outside it. So you go to school, and then when are you going to this art class? Is it like on the weekends? Is it after school? When are you doing that?
Every weekend on Saturday.
Okay.
And since I was little and for a
Yeah.
long time
Yeah.
until I attend the high school art class. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then so you're taking the art class, and you just love to doodle, you love to draw. So I'm assuming that any free time that you have, are you always drawing something? Is this the type of kid you were?
Mm, I think yes, at that time, not
Yeah.
now, but
Yeah.
at that time, just because I was also really obsessed with Japanese anime.
Yeah, yeah. So you were getting a lot of hours in, you were doodling, you were drawing, you were just constantly working on the skill every second that you had, essentially.
Mm, there's definitely some break, but
Yeah.
that will definitely be one of my habits at that time.
Okay. All right. No, I love it. I love it. So let's go back to, so now you're making the decision to go to an art high school, essentially. All right.
Mhm.
Is that the decision you ended up making?
Yes,
Okay.
I end up was able to get into that um I would say art class just because it's a little bit complicated. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a general high school, but they have one class
Mm-hmm.
provides to have art skill to
Mm-hmm.
join. They can come into that general high school with lower regular subject grade.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not as smart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know it's not the best way to say it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but come to there's a school hierarchy.
Uh-huh.
Whoever can join the art class, they don't require as high as the regular subject score that they request for other classes.
Right, right.
But we need to have a better art skill set up at the beginning to be able to
Absolutely.
get that school
Okay.
class.
Yeah.
So it's an art class in a general high school.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. So what was that experience like at that high school? And knowing that, art is available to you, and not only is it available to you while you're in high school, but you're building your skill and you're getting better at it. What was that like for you?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I would say it is a super important time of my life that
Mm-hmm.
I realized I was being with so many people that have similar
Mm-hmm.
interests, and
Mm-hmm.
then it bring a lot of joys and
Mm-hmm.
it bring a lot of meanings
Yeah.
to know like wow, this is how I feel
Yeah.
when you spend time with people who also enjoying art,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
drawing, painting,
Yeah.
things that like is visually pleasant
Mm-hmm.
because I never had that experience before.
It's like your home. You're like, you found your people, you found your friends, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let me
That
ask let me ask you this. You've been taking these art classes since you were little on Saturdays, right? Then you've been doing that all the way through until you get to high school. Now you get to high school and you're surrounded by peers who are also into art. You guys are creating all this art. Are you are you at this point when you're in high school, are you able to look at your work objectively and say, I'm I'm pretty good at this. Are you able to, like, what are you thinking? Are you thinking that, hey, can you see that you've gotten better since you were like a little kid to now you're, a teenager? Can you look and say, I'm actually pretty good at this? Like, what are you thinking when you look at the work that you produce in high school?
So when I was, so you say the timeline is more like
Yeah.
when I was little and then to when I'm high school and then what
Mm-hmm.
I noticed at a high school,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, that was I like this question just because I liked so many details you like
Yeah.
to ask into it. And I definitely realized there's so many people are so good at art, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as good as I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That was the kind of the shocking points is like since I was little, like elementary school, I'm always like the top one or top two,
Mm-hmm.
like art skill in the classroom. So when there's a competition, they always send me out to
Mm-hmm.
do it. So I always got the award at elementary school. Like it's not a big deal. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't. So it's like the school like they will have two side of aisle like probably in when you first walk into the school to display some art piece, and I will like it's easy to find my piece over there just because they sent me to attend the competition most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already sense of like
Yeah.
you feel like you're better.
Yeah. Yeah. Superiority.
Yes, superiority, like
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. But once I joined in, I realized, oh, there's so many people so good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then realized that, oh, why they're so good at it? Because they start the training since middle school, that
Mm.
there's special type of art class, but in
Yeah.
the middle school version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm kind of behind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we feel that pressure, but
Yeah.
then, so just keep working on it. But at that is the time I also realized where's my talent. Most
Mm-hmm.
talent things
Mm-hmm.
I have is I could make a progress in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Even though I don't really have the as much as training as professional training as they
Mm-hmm.
did.
No, this is really cool, Cole. And
Mm,
I'll tell you why. Because I think this is something that a lot of people encounter, right? They usually encounter this when they get to college. You're
mhm,
actually encountering it in high school, which is actually a really good time. But not only did you encounter this in high school, but you actually recognize that some of the people who you thought respectfully were better than you at the time, you understood why they're better, right? Because they were doing something that you were not doing, right? But here's the flip side. The flip side is that you actually had been doing a lot of work, right? You've been putting in hours, a lot of hours since you're little. So
mhm.
even though they're better than you recognize that, okay, I'm good. I'm not as good as they are, and I understand why. So now I have to, to make a change. So at that point, when you recognize this, like, what did you change about how you were doing art to kind of try to get better?
I definitely try to go to different private art studio to learn
Mm,
teachers. Like, when you're with your peers, you realize, oh, they did a really good, cool style. Where did they learn it? And then you
mm,
just explore a little bit because I stuck with the same teacher for
yeah,
a really long time. I was
yeah,
like, let me try a different way of doing it. And then
yeah,
as well as just be with the friends that
yeah.
I truly appreciate their art talent and then get to know how did they work and what is their workflows and what catch their attention when they
Hmm.
try to appreciate or mimicking some other master art piece. That would
Yeah.
be yeah, that would be the things I do.
All right, Cole. So talk to me about let's go back over this and it's a concept I talk about that's it's called like imposter syndrome with with students and families that I work with. And you're actually experiencing this in high school, right? And what I mean by that is you're saying that you're recognizing that your peers, have this skill, have these skills that you don't have, and they're producing, maybe like a higher level of art. But
Mhm.
what you did, which was beautiful, is that you kind of just try to understand like how did they get to be this good, and you looked at the process that they took to get to be good, and then you went and you figured it out on your own. So you went and you started seeing, like different art teachers so that you can learn a lot of the things that your peers had learned. So tell me, just walk me through, how you were able to like navigate that process because you easily could have just given up and said, "Oh, I'm never going to be as good as these people.
Mhm.
I'm just going to stop." But what motivated you to kind of to keep going and try to get better?
I think at that time, definitely, I think family support is important.
Mm-hmm.
It just I would say my parents, they are not the best come to verbal support,
Hmm.
but they're more open-minded come to financially support me. Like if I'm kind of propose like, oh, I want to looking for different teachers,
Hmm.
and they'll ask, oh, so where is it? What's the plan? And then
Hmm.
what is the tuition fee? So they will, as well as like having produce a good piece of art, definitely request materials. Like
Hmm.
if you want your things look better and you need a good enough brush. You don't need the best brush, but good enough brush that, the brush hair won't keep falling apart,
Right, right.
or the watercolor quality has to be good, or the
Hmm.
paper wise, like different paper really make your art look so much different. And then the
Hmm.
price is so different.
Yeah.
So would say just learning all these little things, how to improve
Hmm.
the piece of art, and then having the financial support from my family does help me a lot with that. But for myself personally, what is my mentality
Hmm.
at that time? I think there's just a sense of competitive, like feeling, knowing like I don't think like I can't do it. It's just like I need more time, and
Yeah.
then don't really have acknowledge that I don't have the training they have, because these peers that were perform better than me,
Hmm.
they come from bigger city.
Hmm.
So at that time, there's also a sense of like self-conscious that me as a person who's local, and then not exposure,
Yeah.
like better technique.
Right.
So you don't just don't want to lose that inner competition in you.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. That's good because you easily could have lost your confidence and just said, you know what, I'm never going to be this good. But something in you said, no, 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 I can, with a little bit of time, I can be just as good or even better than them. And they were just exposed to more techniques and more teachers than I was.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, no, I love that. I love that because I think that's really crucial, right? And part of it is just being prepared. The way that you deal with imposter syndrome or get rid of imposter syndrome is how you prepare, right? So even though you got to high school and you saw that they had a different level of preparation, you just
Hmm.
figured out, okay, this is what they did to get to this level. I need to
Hmm.
go and work with some of the teachers that they worked with to learn those skills so that I can get to that level. And I think that's awesome, you
Yeah,
know?
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So talk to me about your peers. Like, at this point you're in high school, you guys
Hmm.
are everyone's producing like really good artwork. you're,
Hmm.
you're you're excited about what you're doing, so like did you have like a group of friends who you always like you guys push each other, you hold each other accountable, you challenge each other, you support each other, or was it like always competitive, someone was trying to stab you in
Hmm.
the back or something? What was your friend group like?
I like that questions.
Yeah.
So I would say our art class is more like a family for sure,
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
because our art become hard once you know like everyone has their own style, it become harder to compare.
Hmm.
Like you realize, oh, these person are so good at drawing comics, and
Hmm.
these person are so good at like her watercolor skill, and that person is so good at mimicking like things in so many detail way, like to a level that you would never want to do it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you realize like, okay, they all have their own style. And then you
Hmm.
start to, that is also the time I realized I do have certain style as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
Like to realize my style is more colorful, but not in the way that like there's not a strong contrast come to color. It's more like colorful, but also soft and gentle at the same time. Like that's also like you learning more things about yourself. Like, oh, I do have a preference come to picking things, and
Hmm.
I could be this style. So the peers are, I would say we have fun together.
Hmm.
Come to competitions, not necessary just because the competition is more toward the system. Like
Hmm.
we need to draw the exactly same thing, but that's just because we know we had another exam come up when we trying to join the university.
Hmm.
So just that part will be competitive, but we are not each other's competitor because there will be thousands of students that is from different schools going to join the same exam together when we're not able to see how their artworks looks like. So
Yeah.
we would just prepare ourselves and then we have fun together and we appreciate each other's art and learn things from one another.
Yeah. So you talked about your parents being very supportive, right? Especially financially. You talked about the peer group. So
Mhm.
who were some of the your teachers, maybe coaches or mentors who were also very important at that time, right? Who were some people who were, maybe some of your art teachers, maybe, someone at the school,
Mhm.
someone who's not family, but and is not a student who was really important on this journey that you were having, especially in high school, getting ready to go to university. So who are those people?
Mm, I have one Chinese painting teacher. She really makes um certain sub Chinese painting this subject is really different for me
Mm-hmm.
just because um I like the way she interact with people. She just seems genuine, very generous,
Mm-hmm.
but also she could be performative at the same time. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's a like interesting combinations.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I was kind of her Chinese painting course assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So I help her with a lot of things, but I think there's just a part of me, like I mentioned, like competitive side of me feel like, oh, now I'm her assistant. I need to do a better job
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to like traditional Chinese painting. So even I don't really have a good foundation of the skills, but I will do a lot of practice on my own, like
Yeah.
when I have time to do that.
Okay.
She played an impact out of it. And I would say also my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a friend that at that time, 2 to 3 friends, they're just so talented. And then I wish, there is a little part of me wish I could be like that.
Yeah.
And I really value their art and just want to be like it's a little bit sad to say that, but I wish I could be just like them. But
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the same time knows that there is a difference. So
Yeah.
how could I fit myself into that environment? So I do acknowledge just by saying this,
Mm-hmm.
I live on certain spice
Yeah.
to push myself
Yeah.
moving forward. Yes.
Okay. No, I think that's cool. So we talked about the peers, we talked about the teachers, mentors, um, and then your parents, of course. So now
Mhm.
you're in high school, right? And you guys are, you're building your skills, you're getting better. You're
Mhm.
thinking, as you start thinking about going to university and going next, like what are you thinking about in terms of career? Like as you think about, okay, I'm in high school, I'm leaving high school soon, I'm gonna go to university. What are you thinking about? What's your major going to be? What are you thinking what type of career are you going into? Talk to me
Yeah,
about like what's your thought process in high school as you're getting ready to leave?
that's a really question again.
Mm-hmm.
And so this definitely connected to what I just answered. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I live on certain spice just because I realized I wasn't as talented as them.
Mm-hmm.
I have talented.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talented, but I noticed there's a different level comes to talented.
Right, right, right.
And then I was like, oh, so does that make me will that help me to make art become the career? I
Mm-hmm.
was like debating on that for a long time and then realized that by looking at them and looking at myself, then realized maybe that I'm not that type of person because they're so, I'm gonna be a little bit bold, come to my word. I think they're so damn talented
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I will never be able to reach that level.
Right, right.
I was like, ugh, what the hell hard I try. I know I'm good, but won't be that good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, and I need to make money. If I don't have as much as passion and talent as they have, then how could I make money out of it? So
Mm-hmm.
I started thinking about, so what could do art also make money at the same time? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, craft and design sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I applied for craft and design program, so which
Okay.
is you doing art, but in a 3D form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the craft and design program is completely focused on like doing woodwork, like or metal art, like
Mm-hmm.
jewelries, necklace,
Mm-hmm.
potteries, or you weaving the bamboos,
Mm-hmm.
or stained glass. And so that's what I learned in
Mm-hmm.
university. I was like,
Yeah.
doing art can make money at the same time.
Yeah.
That sounds more like a career.
Okay, okay. So this is a win-win for you. It's like I have the art, then I figure out, okay, what can I do with this talent that I have
Mhm.
to earn a living and make some money.
Yes.
So you made that decision like what your last year of high school before you went to university, you're like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yes.
Okay. Did you know anyone who had gone on to do that? Who was doing that at the time? That major?
Mm, through connection, I found some previous grad alumni from
Mm-hmm.
high school went to that program in the
Mm-hmm.
university. So not necessarily know that person, but just talk a little bit before the interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they gave you an idea of, what to expect and, how to be successful in this program.
Yeah, or what is the future career might look like once you
Gotcha.
graduate the program.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So now you get into the university and you get into this program. So what is that like? What was that experience like? Was it what you thought it would be?
It's a completely new chapter for me
Yeah.
because I never done like handicraft craft.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a growing pain out of it. Just
Right.
I realized how different 3D art is compared
Right.
to
Right.
art. I was like, this is complicated. You gotta
Yeah.
put wood together and you gotta cut things from yourself. You gotta touch all the machines.
Yeah.
And the knife is like spinning.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And I make a lot of mistake, I hurt myself with
Yeah.
sometimes like trying to, sometimes you need to make the wood kind of appear smoother and you need to use certain machines, but I didn't push it in the right way and then come back hit myself
Yeah.
or like it's just a lot of horror story. Like
Yeah.
my peers accidentally hurt themselves as well.
Yeah.
And
So
you know,
before you chose this major, those things you didn't think about these things before you chose a major. You're just like, okay, I could come in and we'll do this and I'll make some money. But this is the details that you didn't think about.
I didn't think about the woodwork would be that
Yeah.
scary because that what drew me the most at the beginning to the program is the jewelry making.
Mm-hmm.
Is the metals you can make like what is this called? I think I forgot. Like you can ping it on the chest.
Like a brooch or something.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes, a
yeah, yeah.
brooch. Like you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
make brooch,
yeah,
necklace,
yeah,
or just random metal art. So I was
yeah,
like, oh, that
yeah.
is pretty. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So that stuff that you was like, okay, I can do that. But then the wood making part, you were like, ooh, I didn't realize it was going to be this tricky.
Hell no.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're in university and you're starting to catch your groove and things are starting to slow down and you're starting to find your way. How are you
Mhm.
feeling at this point? Like as you're going through year to year, are you feeling like okay, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of a career?
So I kind of getting more lost.
Okay.
There is a silver lining at the end of this
Right,
story.
right, right,
I
right, right, right.
promise
We're
you.
gonna get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting a little bit more lost just because the thought of like how can make this turn into a career really confused me because craft art require time and require money investment. How can you get the material? Like you need, for example, if you want to do stained glass, like there is still a lot of investment request at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and the speed of making money is slow actually if you want to turn this into a career. And then
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it wasn't the most like environment comfortable career as well as like even if you choose to do metal art, your hand will also smell the metal most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, and your nails will always have stuff stuck inside.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then with the woodwork it's the same, like you're just sweaty most of the time because
Mm-hmm.
of you need to stay in that environment. And with the metal art, sorry, stained glasses as well, it's just there would be always a lot of like glass powders
Mm-hmm.
because you kind of need to cut stuff or kind of makes the edge of the glass smooth as well. So there's a lot of environmental I wouldn't want to say challenge, but come to preference wise, I kind of feel like make it as a career, I would start to getting unsure if this is the best choice. And I think also at that time, like I feel a little discouraged from my what my parents say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was telling my dad like maybe I could be a designer at the end,
Mm-hmm.
but he say something kind of hurt me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, do you think you're that talented?
Yeah.
Only talented can do that, but I don't think you're that talented. So he
Yeah.
says something a little bit crucial,
Yeah.
like kind of pushed me back a little bit. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not encouragement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I having doubts, and that's the time, like at the last year of the program, I have a chance to take art therapy class. That
Mm.
is more like a selective class that is not in the course requirement. But I was going through some like mental challenging,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I still like art, but it was just like the 3D art is so complicated, and then
Yeah.
plus, how could I make money out of this? And
Yeah.
I'm going to graduate soon. What is my well, how am I going to find my space in the society? So I
Mm-hmm.
was just like having a lot of stress,
Yeah. Yeah.
21 years old, 22 years old
Yeah.
is difficult for most of the young adults, and then
Yeah.
same for me as well. So
Yeah.
took the art therapy course,
Yeah.
realized this is so good.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love art. And
Yeah.
then by me trying to overcome a little bit mental challenge I have, I realized, wow, the healing power from it
Mm. Mm.
so valuable. And then that's the moment I realized making art could be so free and then truly express myself instead of keep trying to um leaning towards some preference from people give it to me.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm good at. Oh,
Yeah.
the school want me to do this, so I try my best
Yeah.
reach that level. I when the teacher went asked me to attempt competition, I
Mm-hmm.
did my best to make sure what I draw fit the topic of the competition. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of thing I do, it's more topic based or order based, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the moment I realized, oh, that's really good.
Yeah. So I'm seeing the silver lining that you spoke of.
Yes.
This is really cool.
Mhm.
So it's in your last year at university that this is where you kind of discovered art therapy.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're taking this class and then stuff is starting to come alive for you. You're just like, okay, this I'm seeing I'm making some connections here. All
Mhm.
right. Okay. So after you take that class in art therapy, you get introduced to art therapy because I'm assuming art therapy was not really on your radar. It was not something you were thinking about before. Correct?
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us about how you get introduced to this class, and this class kind of opens up your eyes to something new. And then
Mhm.
so what are you thinking? And that's within the context of where you are now. But tell me about at that point, what are you thinking, once you've been introduced to art therapy?
Once I've been introduced to the art therapy, I just drawn by the beauty of kind of this. I want this feel. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like art and plus therapy. I just don't think there will be anything more healing than that. I have
Yeah.
to be honest. I'm a little bit nerdy and
Yeah.
very passionate. Come to
Yeah.
the field, I was like, oh, this just looks so good. And then when I do the art in the class, like how I got introduced in it, sorry, I jump around. How
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
got
okay.
introduced to it, it's just through a friend who also took the class before.
Mm-hmm.
So that I was just like, oh, the name looks so good.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta have to do it.
Yeah.
So I join it, and then the fun thing is because I do it at the last year of my program, so it's like they don't even have a space for me just
Mm-hmm.
because I figured it out too late.
Yeah.
So I just joined as I forgot the English word of that type of student. They
Hmm.
just attend the class without
Hmm.
credit.
Yes, audit.
Oh yes, audit. Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I only audit the class,
Yeah.
but I went back to get the credit
Hmm.
after 2 years just
Yeah.
because I want to apply for this program.
Yeah. 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 You're like, remember me? I was in here.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I do.
All right, so you went back to get the credit. So now you're thinking you took the class, it opens up your eyes.
Mhm.
So what are you thinking about in terms of how do I continue this relationship with art therapy? Like how do I continue to pursue,
Mm.
the possibilities with art therapy? So walk us through that process. Like you're at the end of your university time, you found art therapy, and now you're thinking, hmm, I might want to I might want to pursue this further. So
Mhm.
so so walk us through that process. Like how did you like think your way through that?
Yes, I start with to realize maybe this is what I want to do.
Mm.
And then at the beginning, it's always feel
Mm-hmm.
intimidated
Mm-hmm.
because you're telling people, but you just wasn't sure will you be able to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're trying to figure out how can you get there. So I start with researching some programs in Taiwan, like what is the art therapy resource we have in Taiwan, and realize
Mm-hmm.
there's only one university provide the art therapy program. And
Mm-hmm.
then to be, in my perspective, that university has the best reputation. And just because I gonna say I have the competitive Asian part in me is
Mm-hmm.
like, like we in Taiwan we like to keep going like further ahead if you're
Mm-hmm.
in one university already, and then how could you join the better university
Mm-hmm.
when you want to pursue the further
Mm-hmm.
um, academic study.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time my university is already considered like the top one or top two like art like in the art field
Mm-hmm.
because it's National Taiwan University of Art.
Mm-hmm.
The name is big already. And then so I was like, I wasn't sure would I want to do that. And so, so as well as like the teacher who taught the art therapy class at my university was graduated from US.
Mm-hmm.
She had the master program in art therapy from art therapy program in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So and all these like kind of factors like influence me like do I really want to do art therapy like study in Taiwan?
Mm-hmm.
And then the entrance exam to get into that program is also really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I study through it and realize you need to take multiple exams, you need to spend time to study on stuff. And I already almost close to graduated.
Yeah.
I have pressure from family, like they
Yeah.
want me to get a job. And then
Yeah.
how could I still do that?
Yeah.
I just think that it's not practical at
Yeah.
all to study for another whole year to
Mm-hmm.
prepare for a master program. And then it's still studying Mandarin, which doesn't really expand my worldview that's
Mm-hmm.
as much as I want to, because at that time, I'm also noticed there is an inner call in me that's feeling more want to see a different side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part is definitely kind of influenced from my dad
Mm-hmm.
because he was in China for 12 or 13 years. I don't remember how long it is. I think
Mm-hmm.
since I was 11, but
Mm-hmm.
he come back to Taiwan during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So he was working China for a long time for a US company, and then he used to fly around to the
Mm-hmm.
US. And
Mm-hmm.
then so I was like, how could I um be like that? Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily be like him, but have can see the world in the way as
Yeah.
he got the chance to do it.
Yep.
So, and I also kind of feel wanting to have the English skill like he has to. So
Right, right.
he play a big part.
So how did you make the decision in which universities to apply to in America for the art therapy program?
So at that time, there's a couple schools to choose.
Mm-hmm.
I got some support from other professors that from my previous job.
Mm-hmm.
So not job, it's more like scholarship. After I graduated, I spent some time to work regular job, but I also applied for Fulbright.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the Fulbright in North Carolina for
Mm-hmm.
2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
while I was doing Fulbright, I told the professor there, it's like, oh, in North Carolina, there I want to apply for art therapy program. So she helped me to give me a list of art therapy program, and then I kind of based on her list, and I also do my own research and then
Mm-hmm.
pick some out of it, which is the at the end I only applied for three, which is GW,
Mm-hmm.
Florida State, and Drexel University.
Mm-hmm. And then so how did you make your decision? Because two of those places, Drexel's in Philadelphia, GW's in Washington, D.C., and Florida State's in Tallahassee. So how did you make your decision?
Yeah, it's still a financial based
Yeah.
decision
Mm-hmm.
because GW, even though they offer scholarship, but it wasn't enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, like FSU is the most generous programs
Mm-hmm.
that offer financial support. So I was really lucky to be able to got graduate assistantship, which
Nice.
including monthly stipend and tuition waiver.
Nice,
And
nice.
that really helped me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make the decision really easy.
Yeah. But having a Fulbright also helps, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to
yeah.
say that that is a whole different story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It helps it opens a few doors, when you
Yeah.
have one of those. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. So you chose Florida State,
Mhm.
right? So talk to us about, what's that experience been like? Do you feel like you're home, you're close to being home in terms of like art therapy is, this is your home. It seems like you found your place, like what you want to do, and how excited are you about where you are and about what's to come?
After joining the program, like I have to say I have bias. I think this is one of the best program.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not the same as what I was thinking at the beginning when I first know art therapy, but it's just getting better and better in some ways to be able to work with different population. And also it made me feel like I make the right decision to come
Mm-hmm.
to the US
Mm-hmm.
in general, just because you see like even though art therapy is still a growing field, but it already got some space like in different systems, and Taiwan is not the same in that level yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel really happy about it. And then when it come to like, is Florida State my home right now?
Mm-hmm.
Not, I wouldn't say completely
Mm-hmm.
because um it's for me it's the both factors involved at the same time is
Yeah.
the factor of trying to adjust in a different country as a foreigners. And then
Mm-hmm.
the second factor is how to get used to Tallahassee culture. And then
Mm-hmm.
these two things are really different, even though this is not the first time I come to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So um the faculty are super supportive, but come
Mm-hmm.
to environment wise, there is so many things I'm still trying to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
So would I want to stay here like in the futures? Like I wasn't sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
I am more leaning toward like if there's a chance, like I would see if there's any opportunity I could find a job in other English speaking country that also provide art therapy service, such as
Nice.
like Canada
Mm-hmm.
or Australia or New Zealand. That would be
Nice.
something I would want to do.
Nice, nice, nice. So what type of work are you excited to do? Um, and you can talk about, like which population, whether it's, younger folks, teenagers, older folks, or everybody. Like what are you excited about most, once you're done with your degree, to
Mhm.
work on in the world of art therapy?
I would prefer right now, I might change in the future, as you know,
Hmm.
I'm still studying,
Yeah.
but right now I'm definitely more leaning toward young adults.
Hmm.
And but with adults in the future, I would want to do that, but that will be something I will be keep working on myself
Yeah.
as no that's they have so many life experience ahead of me that I
Hmm.
might not know, but how could I still support them? That'll
Yeah.
be something I'm really interesting. And come to kids, I wouldn't mind to work with them just because I work with kids a lot before
Yeah.
I started this program. So I do think I'm good at it,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
my favorite because they take all of my energy away.
So, so it's funny that you said that, right? So here's the question that I have for you, and this will probably be one of the last questions I have. If you had to go back, with what you've learned so far in art therapy, right?
Mhm,
If you could go back to Cole when Cole was in high school,
mhm,
in the beginning of high school, and if you
mhm,
were to do like an art therapy session with Cole, like
mhm.
how do you think that would have been beneficial? Like if you had someone who was trained as an art therapist come to you when you first started high school and you were at that point where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be as good as these people. Like do you think that would have been helpful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that will definitely help, I call that little Cole.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The that will help little Cole to having more self-compassions
Yeah,
and also finding herself, I having more strengthen her self-identity at that time instead
yeah.
of like feeling the need to keep comparing herself with others and to fit the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And that might also potentially help her make a different decision, come to university choice
Mm-hmm.
in the long-term future. So I wish there's art therapy in high school.
Yeah, yeah. So is that something you'd be open to doing? Would you want to go back to Taiwan and maybe do some, even in the summertime or something, do something like that?
Yeah, I'm always open to having a chance to do art therapy in Taiwan, but also acknowledge that things I learned art therapy in the US. So
Yeah,
how can I adapt
yeah,
once I go back? That is something I consistently think of.
yeah. And so when you think of it, what does that look like for you?
A little bit excited, but
Yeah,
also a little bit scary because
yeah,
now you're approaching your own culture.
yeah,
And then how could you not getting biased on yourself? Like you feel, oh, that makes sense. Things should do in that way.
yeah,
And then you just feel so many things make sense. So you don't
yeah.
even make a change out of it. That's something I really need to be aware of.
Gotcha, gotcha. No, I like that though. That's really good self-awareness on your part, all right? To recognize this in yourself and how it could potentially challenge you in that environment, right?
Yeah.
But you are aware, and I think that's the first step. You are aware, and then you could kind of proceed as best you can going
Mhm.
forward. All right,
Mhm.
Cole. So this is my final question for you, right? And I'm coming back. I actually asked you this question, but I'm asking you again. Like, what are
Mhm.
you what are you really, 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 really excited about? When it comes to art therapy, going forward. Like, what's the big thing that you're like, hey, if I'm known for this thing, once I'm done with art therapy, I'll be happy. What's the big thing that you're aiming for? When it's all said and done, when you're retired, what do you want to be known for in art therapy?
That's the really difficult question, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because I usually see things more in a 10 years goal instead
Mm-hmm.
of a 20 years or 30 years or
Okay.
where
So
do
let's
I
so let's do 10 years. So in
Mhm.
10 years, what do you want to be known for in art therapy? Like what are you hoping to achieve, accomplish, contribute? How do you want to serve within art therapy in the next 10 years? Like what would be the best way for you to serve and to give back and to
Mhm.
give of yourself,
Yeah,
in this line of work
yeah.
in the next 10 years?
I think I definitely want to having more um reputations or having accomplished like knowing how to navigate art therapy, but specifically in the perspective of migrant or immigrants or people who have changed their identity, like from by force or by their own wellness? How did they navigate their own differences with the space and how did they hold their identities and how did they? I think because that's more resonate with me. Like I really want to use art therapy to explore that part of like when there's so many part of ourself, it's all in the space that probably doesn't recognize your previous life, then what identity did you hold in the space,
Hmm.
and then what inner dialogue you're going to have, and then how to provide the person create the most healthiest and strong self-compassions and self-talk. And wow,
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I just don't think I answered this question that well because
That's good. That's good. You answered it honestly, and that's all we want, right? And I think there's no right answer. I think all those things are uh noteworthy and honorable. So I appreciate the answer. So I do have a couple more questions. I know I said that was the last question, and it's not. I have a couple more questions. So here's my other question for you. What like what do you love best about art therapy? Like what is the thing that you're like, man, this I can't get enough of this. This is really awesome. I love this part of what I do. What is that thing for you?
I love that the fact is how it was impactful for people
Mm-hmm.
who find it difficult to verbalize themselves. And then when
Mm,
they do it, they finally feel relief in having a space,
yeah.
and that make it so precious. And I see that from my client as well. Like when I lead group session, the client who talk the less in a verbal session, they draw the most in the art therapy session. And then it provide a lot of power in that therapeutic setting. And also for whoever also love to talk, they find out something they don't know about themselves in
Mm.
art therapy session. It just it just does provide a different perspective come to how we see ourselves, and then finding the hidden emotions that we we kind of just neglected, or kind of just you kind of just let the things pass through and you don't even catch how you feel. So I think I love it. I love about it. It's a moment to pause, but it's also a moment to make really conscious choice that make it really powerful.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then this is my final question. I promise. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how at peace are you with this decision? You know what I mean? At this stage in your life, and you're like, okay, I chose art therapy.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I'm putting my flag down. This is the career path that I'm committed to. Like, how much peace do you have, with that decision? Like, how comfortable are you with that decision? How at peace are you with that decision? How aligned do you feel with with your personality, with your experiences, and with this career choice? Do you feel like it's all coming together in a way that puts you at peace?
I do. I do
Yeah,
believe in that way.
yeah,
I I don't see the better career than this for myself. I
yeah.
used to be a teacher's, um, you know, and I don't think teacher fit the need of wanting to support people in a more compassionate way, because
Yeah.
teacher require standard, but our therapists require you being you.
Hmm.
And that's what I prefer, to interact with people, but also learn from them as well.
Yeah,
So I think this is exactly where I want
yeah,
to be honest. And I still couldn't believe I was able to be here. Even I have been here for almost close to be 2 years,
yeah,
but it's a dream come true.
yeah. That's awesome. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Cole. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. I think it's going to help a lot of people, whether they choose art therapy or not. I think people will gain a lot of information about sort of the world of an art therapist, about art therapy programs, and about, just cultivating a skill within the arts, from an early age. So I think you're a perfect example for that. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. And this has been another episode of the Immigrant Education Podcast. See you next time.